Hello, friends, and I welcome all of you in our Wednesday evening YouTube live, The Concrete Show with Mukund Joshi. And today we have a very special subject because we will be speaking on QAQC procedures in a RMC plant. And we know how important this subject is, quality control. And we have a very special expert with us, Mr. V.R. Kowshik, who is working as a director with QCRETE, and he's also executive director with AMAZECRETE. Mr. Kowshik has vast national and international experience in the field of not only ready-mix concrete but also in admixtures. So let me welcome Mr. Kowshik. Let me add him to our live stream, and then we will start discussing about this wonderful subject. Kowshik sir, welcome to you in our weekly show, The Concrete Show.
Thank you. Namaste.
And sir, today we are going to discuss about this wonderful subject, and our audience is already here. And I want to begin by asking you a question that we all know that ready-mix concrete is a mechanized industry. Everything is almost automated. In spite of that, why do we need this QA/QC challenges? Why these challenges are there? It would be great if we begin with this question.
First of all, I'm extremely thankful to you, Mr. Joshi sir, for this session, kind of a webinar, kind of an interview, whatever you call it, and on behalf of QCRETE Readymix India Private Limited, I welcome all the audience and thanking once again Mr. Mukund Joshi. I start this session, and the important question and interesting question what Mr. Mukund Joshi has asked is we have to look from how the ready-mix concrete is done, and it is very important that the answer is not straight and simple. Answer is I can say it will run into maybe pages. I will cover slowly and try to answer the very question which is very deeply asked, actually, I can say. The point is that even though it is mechanized, the first point which I want to tell you, completely it is computerized, mechanized ready-mix concrete is in, I can say, evolved from 1930s. In fact, it started in 1909, and then from gradually from evolution of trucks and pumps and things took place, and now we are seeing the situation where we are, where we are delivering concretes at very high speeds, like say for example 40 meter cube, 50 meter cube per hour we are pumping. Also, we have seen manifestation of the large, I can say, structures in the world, Burj Khalifa and all, being done with ready-mix concrete, actually. Now, I go step by step to the process involved in manufacturing of ready-mix concrete, and then what are the quality assurance and quality control activities that are involved in this industry. And some of the examples I will try to give, which I have experienced in last years. Now, any manufacturing unit, you have three pillars of QAQC. One is forward control, immediate control, and retrospective control. And forward control is a set of all activities that are done before production. Immediate control is set of all activities at the point of production, and retrospective control or set of all activities that are done after the production. So basically, the three pillars of QAQC in the ready-mix content industry, it can be applied to any other industry also. It is not only applicable to ready-mix content industry. Suppose you are making concrete blocks, suppose you are making any other product, even for example, you are making some food in a restaurant, same pillars of QAQC will be applicable probably in different forms and ways actually. Now, so forward control, I will go step by step here. In the forward control, control of purchased material quality, control of materials, how it is stored, mix design, plant maintenance, etc. Now, in a ready-mix company, we have stringent quality control program where the selection is done for each material thoroughly, and we check the materials whether all the materials are as per the highest standard or relevant standard, and then selection is done. And the selection of materials is done based on whether the materials are nearby and whether the vendor or the supplier is known to the company. Vendor has a history of consistent supply. All these things we check, and then the material vendors are selected and materials are selected. And each material, as I mentioned, it goes through set of tests before selection. Both internally we test materials, and we'll send for third-party tests also, whether it is cement, whether it is aggregates or supplementary cementitious materials, water, admixtures, everything. So once this is done, we also do what is called as approved material list. So approved material list is set of all the vendors and materials, and it cannot be changed unless the QC manager changes actually. So we have a set of written documents where we say these are the materials and these are the vendors to be contacted and purchased actually. So once this is done, then we do the material mix designs and all. And these mix designs are generally done with the experience of concrete technologist or QAQC engineer. And then the mix designs are arranged in a format. And then the process goes to the next step actually. Now, but what happens, answering to Mr. Mukund Joshi, what happens once the materials are selected, once the vendors are selected? The biggest challenge for the ready-mix industry in India, even though in the last 30 years, the first plant was started in Pune in 1993, 94, and then it moved to different places actually. And now, for example, you have all over in tier 2 cities everywhere, where you have these spread of all these ready-mix companies and demand for materials. Once we select the materials, the biggest challenge for the ready-mix industry in India today is the inconsistency in the material quality. It is not that once we are selected, the quality of the material remains same. The quality of the materials go on changing to a great extent actually, whether it is aggregates, whether it is fine aggregates or coarse aggregates, or whether it is cement. And I have some incidents which I can quote where we have faced a lot of problems in many companies in my previous in my experience, both within India and abroad, that there was big problems in terms of slump, in terms of strength, in terms of setting, everything mainly caused because of the variations in cement. For example, the first encounter of such an experience was not in ready-mix industry. In 1992, I was working for a company called Fosrock Chemicals Pvt Ltd, where we were doing trials, and my guru was now he's in Dubai, Mape, Mr. R. Vedanaran. We used to do daily trials, and we found that with the same brand of cement, same manufacturer of cement, back-to-back differences, batch-to-batch differences we were finding, even with the same admixture. And there is an article which is written by Michael Fremantle in 1988, how this stuff works. It's a beautiful article written by this man, where he talks about the complexity of the nature of chemical reactions of cement, and he quotes very clearly that manufacturer to manufacturer, as well as within the manufacturer, batch to batch same changes we see actually. So many people don't agree with this. That is a different matter. But in my opinion, according to me, we have experienced a lot with this. For example, in 1991, we were supplying a waterproofing compound to a building, a residential building. The waterproofing compound was a lignosulfonate based admixture, and as soon as the concrete is mixed in a small mixer, not ready mix concrete, small mixer at that time, it was setting quickly. It was setting quickly, and my boss, another person was there who was, I can say, my guru, YP Kapoor, Dr. YP Kapoor. He sent me to the site, and we understood that it is a case of fault setting. And then simply, I went outside, brought some more bags of cement from another, just a shop, another brand of cement, and then the concrete started behaving properly with the same admixture. Means it was a classic case of incompatibility, classic case of the chemistry of cement, and not working properly with the admixture, which is a waterproofing liquid, lignosulfonate based waterproofing admixture. And this was easily solved by, it can be easily solved another way, that you just agitate the concrete after mixing, after 3-4 minutes or 5 minutes, then it works well. So many times the chemistry of cement, especially the gypsum, kinds of gypsum, types of gypsum, make a difference in and cause this phenomenon called falsity. We had another of this kind of situation in 2015 in a ready-mix concrete company, where we were supplying not lignosulfonate based admixture, we were supplying a PC based admixture, and whatever you do, whatever we did, the slump was not coming. Initial slump itself was not coming, and we brought other cements. We showed them that the problem is there with the cement. They were not agreeing, and they were not changing the cement. God knows how they ultimately changed the cement, or how they used the particular cement which was in silo. So these issues of anhydrate or hemihydrate of gypsum, or different kinds of gypsum, and variations in the cement quality uh, uh, may cause problems in the ready mix industry, and many times it is a huge problem for the quality control or quality assurance engineers, how to solve such a system, such a situation. We had also an experience with a company where OPC was ordered, and OPC we were getting, and we were supplying to a very prestigious company. This was in around 2009. And then here what happened was, suddenly after while the cement was being put into the silo, our purchase officer came running and told that it is PPC instead of OPC. So the company had sent clearly PPC instead of OPC, and there was a mistake. And the mix was OPC PFA. So what we did was, we told to the company that either you have to take back, which is difficult, removing the cement from the silo. We use this as PFA, means we use this entire PPC as PFA. because OPC PFA mix was specified in all the mixes in the project. So there was another occasion where we were doing OPC mixes in 2008, and we had problems in several sites, setting delay uh, happening in many places, at least 8 to 10 sites. And the initial strength was for M25 concrete 8 to 10 MPa, which should have been about 15 to 16 MPa in 7 days. And one of the lecturers from a college, who was hired by one of the clients in Mysore. So he wanted to do on third day, when the setting was delayed, he was trying to do an NDT test. I said, why you are doing an NDT test on a third day actually? And it was a clear sign that the concrete has not set. But he said, I'm doing as per the client's instructions, and the NDT test means the rebound hammer, uh, the needle was going inside the concrete actually. That was the situation. And we saw there is a growth in 14 days, and 28 days it was around 22, 23 border results. Some of the border results were on border, but we could able to convince the customer in many of these sites by showing the long-term strengths. OPC PFA, as we all know, have very good gain of strength in 28 days and 56 days and 90 days. We had a lot of these documents in many of our plants, and then we showed, and fortunately most of the customers accepted. And it was a very difficult situation as a QAQC person at that time, because I had told the company that you stop that cement. So some of the people whom I was reporting did not like this idea of stopping a particular cement, which was the main cement which we were using, but we had to take this decision. So what I mean to say is, I'm giving some examples where the main ingredient of concrete can go wrong because of something or the other. So we will not have any clue about how to control such a situation actually. So what we adopted later on is uh, doing ACT tests. Once the material comes, at least you have some information, and then you do weekly tests. Weekly tests we were running on each of the major mixes like M25 or M30 on a weekly basis. One control, that is control means regular previous batch and the present batch, the fly ash and the same admixture. And then we were comparing whether there is a variation in the strength of the previous week, which is satisfactory to us, and the new batch. So, but this is all time consuming, and we have some difficulties always, which we cannot avoid actually. And the situation and the demand and the supply situation in energy mix company is such a difficult situation anytime, that we need to cope up with this. And it is a very interesting challenge, I can say. We will, the beauty of the challenge is that none of the QAQC people can sleep in the night, and of course maybe they will be wandering like zombies in the mornings. That is a different matter. But it keeps you on tenter hooks, and you will be always observant of this entire situation which is going on. And it keeps you always look at concrete as some mysterious product. uh, and this always also gives a positively, on a positive side, a learning opportunity. So these are some of the experiences which I shared with you on the purchase of materials, especially the cements. And we have similar problems which occur. Uh, when I visited England in 1999, I came to know that there was only one batcher manning the entire production of about 3,000 cubic meters. So when we inquired with how we are doing this one, because he said the materials are consistent, and each truck of sand, each truck of aggregate is assured, comes with a good supplier with a quality assurance certificate. And the cement companies, I don't know the situation now. The cement companies also respond to the changes in characteristics. And one of my boss who had appointed me in that company, Mr. Marcus Rappensberger, he was quoting that ready-mix companies claim money if there is any problem. Like, for example, he had given an example that, for example, you are getting consistently 35 MPa with 320 kg of OPC. After some time, after a month, you start getting 28 MPa or 30 MPa. So for that, in the strength, you are going to increase the cement content. So some of the ready-mix companies have used to claim money from the cement companies. So that is what was being told at the time. I don't know now what is the situation. So the cement companies were responding, and aggregate companies and sand company, means producers of fine aggregates, also used to have very strict quality control regime. Hence, the the job of QAQC person used to be easy. Now, the next chapter comes here is control of materials, which is storage. Many people neglect here actually. We have seen in many companies intermixing. Intermixing means 20 gets mixed into 12 People neglect it actually. People think people don't bother at all. Because people don't understand the complexity of this actually. They think it is same, it doesn't matter actually, but it means a lot. If, for example, sand gets into 12 bin, or a lot of sand gets into 20 bin, the batcher will batch it as 20 and then the water demand goes up and we have problems. So storage of materials, compartmentalizing the material, separating the materials is an important activity. We had seen some of the examples. For example, we had a situation where OPC 240 kgs and 100 kg fly ash mix was being supplied to a customer, and then in the middle of the batching, the technicians ran to us and told that the concrete is completely looks like more fly ash has gone and it is totally in a different color, and it looks more fly ash has gone. Somehow the technicians detected it actually, and when we checked actually, it was almost going in reverse actually. 240 OPC, 100 fly ash, it was going in reverse, and there was no other way that okay, we had to stop the concrete and we had to remove the concrete, because it was detected early actually, before the concrete set or in middle of the pour. And similarly, many incidents had happened in not only one company, many companies. Then what we did is, the feeder lines we identified, properly marked and locked actually, and the feeding has to happen in presence of the production manager, in presence of the QAQC person, and the purchase manager also comes and checks which material is going into which silo. All these things are constantly being checked actually, and this was one of the um, important point we picked up from such an incident actually. There was another problem due to intermixing. As I said, many people don't bother about intermixing of materials. uh, it is very shocking, because some people, either they are ignorant or act ignorant. They don't listen to these kind of important advice when we talk to them. But the situation on ground was, we had supplied, this is again in the year around, I'm talking about 2002, 2003, where the concrete, after supplying about 80 cubic meter, concrete was not setting in spots actually, only spots, maybe 2 square feet, 3 square feet, it was not setting here and there. And we waited for almost 14 days, 15 days, and the concrete had hardened in many places and it was not setting in patches of maybe 1 square feet, 2 square feet here and there. It was not setting. So the customer got wild. Customer said, I don't want this concrete. uh, so we tried to explain to him, and then he did not accept. And then we had to break this concrete actually, because customer was not at all willing to accept this actually. The situation was very bad actually, and the concrete had completely hardened in most of the places, maybe 95%. If you look at the area, only 5% or less than 5% are not set. So when we started breaking our head, why it has happened actually, what has happened? So we had no clue, we were not able to understand. But finally, after maybe uh, after 15 days, when we were walking around several times thinking what has happened, checking everything, then we had in the corner one or two drums with waste oil, grease spilling around on the aggregates. The aggregate was kept as a buffer stock and it was not used. Only some amount of this particular bin aggregates were used for that concrete on that day, on that fateful day we can call. And because of this contamination of grease and waste oil, etc., most probably this kind of situation had come. And this is a result of a absolute carelessness on the part of the people concerned, where the intermixing or contamination of different materials was not taken care. So this is very important aspect which we need to understand. And all the materials, admixtures have to be stored separately. Diesel and all have to be stored separately. If there's any truck mixer, should not be parked in, means there some people are having the habit actually. We see in some companies when we go, truck mixers are stopping or close to the aggregate bins actually, which are dangerous. There may be leakage of diesel, there may be leakage of oil or anything. So these things, these contaminants can destroy the concrete. So it is very important. uh, some people don't give consider this as important, but this is very important. Then comes to mix design. We have data already which is done. We have previous data. Based on the previous data, you can do the mix design, and you do the mix design modification based on the available selected raw materials. Plant maintenance is important. Chipping daily is important. Transfer and weighing equipment means calibration of the batching plant is important. There is a frequency for batching plant. As per AS 4926, it is 3 months. But most of the ready mix companies do on a monthly basis. Plant and truck mixers have to be kept clean. And we had a situation again in the 2007 2008, where um, the concrete deposits were not removed properly, not chipped properly from truck mixer, and we were supplying an M40 concrete to a customer. And then he stopped the concrete because he saw big kind of big, uh, maybe 50 to 100 uh, concrete, set concrete falling onto the pump, and then he stopped this actually. So chipping, cleaning of truck mixers is important. It is all part of forward control. Maintaining the lab equipment, calibration of the lab equipment, everything is part of forward control. Then the next point is immediate control. Immediate control is, as we said earlier, set of all activities that are done at the point of production, at the time of production. So here what happens is you check the moisture content of the aggregates, and then batching starts, and the batcher is able to judge the slump based on the resistance, and which is shown by an ammeter or something like that, and he will be able to judge the slump, how much, whether the concrete is highly workable, less workable, medium workable. He will be able to judge, and based on that one he will go on correcting, making corrections. small changes in the water content or moisture content, he will do. This is the most important point actually. This is the, I can say this is the basis for the concrete that we supply, because we, as we know, that the strength of concrete is inversely proportional to water symmetry ratio. As the water symmetry ratio increases, the strength decreases. Hence, the moisture correction, feeding of proper moisture, and observation at the point of mixing by the production officer is the most important control that we expect in a ready mix company. Many times this does not happen, and that is where the challenge is, as I'm trying to answer to Mr. Mukund Joshi. Again, the product control is the control that we do at the batching plant immediately after the production. Immediately at the production, for example, we check the temperature, we check the slump or the workability of the concrete, whether it is segregated, whether it is pumpable, whether it is cohesive, high bleeding is there. All these parameters we check in the batching plant, and this forms the basis for the product control. Even we check the yield as per 1199, and then we also sometimes take the weight of the truck, including the concrete on the weigh bridge. This forms the product control. This only after these checks are done, are recorded properly, the concrete will move out of the batching plant. So going forward, retrospective control is set of all activities which cannot be done at the point of production, which are done only after the production, like measurement of slump on site, casting of cubes, and then checking the strength of concrete, and then statistical analysis. These form the retrospective control. We have design mixes. Design mixes are those which are done as per the specification of both IS and as per the requirements of the customer. So a ready-mix concrete QAQC manager knows how much should be the cement for a M40 concrete or M35 concrete based on his experience, based on the selected available raw materials, and he will do the mix design. This is the best way. The other way is prescribing the mixes. Prescribe the mixes means, like, the customer will go and he will say, I want 400 kgs of cement, I want this, I want that, and these kind of things are prescribed actually. So when this prescription takes place, then we are entering into a problem. What is the problem? The fresh properties may not be as expected, because a customer sitting in, for example, Mumbai, uh, he wants to construct a building in, let us say, Bangalore. So based on his Mumbai experience, he will say, I want this is the aggregate content, this is the material to be used now, which may not be applicable in Bangalore or vice versa. So according to me, it should be left to the QAQC manager at the particular ready mix concrete, and he is the best judge to make the mix design instead of the prescribed mixes. Earlier, when prescription of mixes were taking place in BS codes, it was very clearly written earlier that the responsibility of mixing only lies with the manufacturer, and the properties cannot be guaranteed if the mix is unpumpable, if the mix is harsh, or if there is any problem. For example, I can say we had a situation where we had proposed for a customer. I'm talking all this around 10 years or 15 years back situation, where we had proposed a mix of 400 kgs to a customer for a particular project, and he was insisting that how to do in 370, and luckily, even though we sometimes we don't want some things to happen, but it happens actually. We didn't want this trend to come in 370. That is what our intention was, because we know very clearly 400 kg cement content is going to give strength, and that is what is required for a transportation time. Trucks for a long time, and the surface finish was a problem, and he started complaining and coming back to us. So these things happen if we go through the prescription route, if somebody else is prescribing the mixes. So stock control of materials, you need to check weekly and monthly. How much is the cement you are supposed to use and how much you have used. You have to take the stock of the situation. You need to uh, tally with what is in, what is out, how much you have produced, uh, just to check whether they are within the limits or not. We had a situation for this where the stock was shown on the every month. Stock of sand was there, and there was purchasing going on. Means somebody, a business manager, was purchasing sand in a ready mix plant, and he was showing the stock also. Stock was there, but he was purchasing. So when we went there, we were expecting a mountain of sand, but there was no sand. So we were expecting a mountain to be there. Mountain of sand means almost 800 tons should be there of sand, but there was no sand actually. Means something else was going on actually. Something else was going on in a particular plant of a particular ready mix company. So these things will happen if we don't take the actual stock and compare on a regular basis, both weekly, fortnightly, and monthly. Complaints is also means we need to take back the feedback of customers, what they feel about the concrete workability, timely delivery, and all these things. And many times the customers, the simplest and silliest mistake of the silliest complaint of the customers, we need to hear, and we need to listen, and then uh, we need to understand his if he is unhappy about a particular uh, situation, whether it is supply or whether it is related to quality or something like that, and address. That is a part of retrospective control. So in this, when we are talking about all these three controls, so many times the people who are managing the three controls, what we listed here, either they are not equipped, they are not trained, they are not aware, they are not sometimes able to understand the intricacies of concrete, complexities of concrete, and hence even though the patching plant is world class, infrastructure is world class, the difference comes because of the people on board. And you can see this because of the perspective of the management. Some of the companies uh, just have money and they want to just invest, and then they want to supply concrete actually without appointing and training the people, especially in the QAQC department. QAQC department, we had this RMCMA checklist, RMCMA audits, and one of the pioneers of the industry in this particular department, Mr. VR Kulkarni, took a lot of pain to develop these checklists for RMCMA, where audits are done by external auditors to qualify a ready-mix facility. And the checklists were started being used around 2008, 2009, and still many companies are adopting these checklists, which are all done as per IS 4926. But the point is, many of the ready-mix companies still don't bother about the intricacies of these QAQC aspects, and that is why sometimes I can say, I take the liberty to say, even the customers also do not bother sometimes to go through this audit. For example, you can have a second party audit, um, means audit as per the checklist by the clients. But these things, when it does not happen regularly, we have problems at hand actually. On the positive note, before we go to the next section, on the positive note, I can say simply that ready mix concrete industry from the inception in India has absorbed many technologies, and it has been a medium to some of the most amazing technologies like self-compacting concrete, and then, for example, you have this self-dynamic concrete and free flow concrete, and many types of concretes which have made the entire construction process easier, faster. And the ready-mix concrete also has impacted in a positive way in terms of usage of supplementary cementitious metals and all. Now we go to the further retrospective controls, where when we are using OPC TFMX, you can see here there is a big growth in terms of 28 days to 90 days strength, and then to 1 year, you can see almost the concrete moving from 37 to 55. This was one of the things which we used to show to the customers when there was a problem, when the results were on border because of a serious problem with a cement. Incidentally, um, I don't have any hesitation to say that was the only cement company. I don't want to name the cement company. That was the only cement company in my entire career where the MD of the company wrote to us telling that yes, we accept there is a problem with our cement. On the letterhead of the company, he gave like this. So, and these kind of data helped us to come out of such a precarious situation. Now, as I said earlier, it is very easy to understand and say what is there in concrete. There is nothing big in concrete, just you have cement, you have 20 mm, 12 mm sand, and maybe some amount of water and some admixture. So what is there? Anybody can do concrete, anybody can mix the concrete, and you have the ultra modern computerized batching plant. There is nothing big in this actually. So it is, according to me, it is very, it is like comparing, for example, somebody says to us, there are 10 to the power of 20 stars in this so-called universe or whatever you call. uh, Somebody can say, so what, I've been seeing from my childhood. Somebody can say like this, but somebody will go and understand the complexity of this creation. So that is the difference. So somebody can simply say, oh, so what is big in this concrete, what is so there the answer to Mr. Mukunjeshi comes. If you just think that it is very simple, there is nothing, just somebody can mix. You take mix designs from one company. There are many companies in India where somebody takes mix design from some other company, just to go on putting into his computer, and there is no training, as I said, to the concerned personnel, and the concrete suffers, and eventually the customers suffer. So as retrospective sampling, there is retrospective quality control. We need to take care of each stage of sampling, testing. So representative sample. So earlier in IS code, there was not much mention about how to take the sample of concrete. DS was mentioning at that time, and now there is a in the revision, it has been mentioned that first you have to allow zero point 0.3 cubic meters of concrete to go, and then you take this sample, and at regular intervals, as the concrete is flowing down the chute under the pump, or down the chute when it is flowing, you move the scoop at right angles and take the sufficient concrete sample and remix it properly. Concrete cube molds have to be well assembled and oiled. Dimensions have to be checked. Full compaction. Okay. Uh, Many times the labor, or from morning to evening, they will be doing some other work, and you depend on them, and you just ask them to cast cubes. They don't know whether it is 25 strokes per layer or 50 of concrete, because each 1% of air in the body of concrete will lessen the strength by 5%. Curing is one of the most important activities, which is again neglected. in we have seen concrete. We had a situation where we were supplying concrete to acropods. Each acropod was about 2.5 cubic meters. And then here, what was happening is they wanted M45 concrete. And what happened is the customer wanted almost 80 to 90%. He was expecting 80 to 90% of the strength to come in 7 days. This was for a prestigious project, and he said we want to please come and witness the cubes. Even though that is not our interest, we generally say the cubes have to be cured at 27 plus or minus 2 degrees as per Indian standard. And if you are not curing that one, there is no point because you are violating the Indian standard. So many customers don't hear this one because the beauty is that as a human nature, everybody thinks he is more intelligent than he is actually. So they think that they can do in a different way, and then the curing is not done in 27 plus or minus 2 degrees. And we were forced to go to the site. When we went to the site, cubes were not there. So what had happened was the cube molds were there, and on the cube molds, reinforcement bars, several tons were kept. I mean to say, it was completely uh, lost. Cubes were not demolded, and then you cannot expect the strength to come. And we said no, we will not consider this. You come to our lab and see the cubes which we have costed as per ES 27 ES standard, cured as per ES standard. So this is what happens. It is said that there is a big damage that we do if we don't cure actually, if the curing is not done. So so uh, Manual of Readymix Quantry, one of the best books I can say on the Readymix Quantry, written by J.D. Devar. Here they have pointed out what sort of influence different factors can make on the cube strength of concrete. So if you consider this as the expected strength of concrete, actually the cube strength should have been this one strength. What effect each of the parameters, each of the activities that we do have on the cube strength. So for example, sampling error, it can be positive or negative. Failure to remix the sample, so it can have a negative effect. And then here we have distorted cube molds. Many times it is not taken care. Incomplete compaction of concrete. Curing, we see many times the labor putting the water on the structures in the morning, and then they will go for probably tea or something like that. Again, they will come back during lunchtime or before lunchtime. They will put some concrete, some water on concrete. Again, before going to at the end of the day, they will put some uh, water. So this kind of discontinuous intermittent curing will not help the concrete, and it will reduce. We have seen tremendous reductions actually to the extent of almost 30%, 40% strength loss happens because of bad curing or unstandard curing. And then faulty tube machine. So we had a situation where continuously customer was telling strength was low, and they were always telling that there is something wrong, concrete is not properly done. So we checked everything, batch records, everything, and when we went there, the machine is not calibrated. Machine is a old machine, which is I can say a cheap, old, and hand operated machine. So here they were trying to get M40 concrete, and many cubes were failing. And then we said that properly made cubes in our laboratory is passing. In third-party laboratory, it was passing. Then we had to do NDT test and all. So here, what happens is the customer here was hell-bent on crushing in his own machine, and he was not curing properly. So we said, okay, you can cure wherever you want. Maybe some of the cubes you can take and keep it in your bathroom. Whenever the water falls on the cubes, by God's grace, some water falls and some strength will gain. But we don't consider this. This is not the way to do, because we also told to the customer that all materials you are following standards, all methods and materials, whatever you are doing on the site, you are following standards. But what is the problem in following proper standards when it comes to concrete, tube making, concrete testing? So customer was not listening, but somehow we did NDT test and all those things were done, and and we successfully completed the project. So faulty machine, faulty placing, faulty recording, all this will cause deviations in the strength of concrete. And one of the most interesting things which I want to point out always in most of my lectures is the benefit of using a supplementary cementitious metal, PFA or GGBS. Many people have the misconception that we have to use when you are using this one. A ready-mix concrete producer is gaining, means it is a cheap concrete by adding fly ash or GGBS. It is the other way. You have this is a result of more than 1,000 results. Each result is average of 3 cubes done in Coimbatore, where the 28 days compared to 90 days. Here the 28 days is uh, taken as 100%, and there was a 40 mph jump. This was fly ash from Tuticorn and different brands of cements. So I can say very clearly that when you are purchasing such a material, such a concrete, the customer is benefited. So one of the problems that happens is prescribed mix, where you prescribe, where somebody prescribes a very low fly ash content or a very low GGBS content, like say 10% GGBS you use, 15% fly ash only you use, because the optimum performance, if you want to use GGBS, it should be around 50% and above. Similarly, fly ash optimum performance, if you want a good performance, you need to move towards 30% or 35%, something like that. So if you specify wrongly and if you prescribe wrongly, then you have a problem. Sometimes it may be it may affect the concrete strength in a different way, concrete performance a different way actually. If the fly ash is not active, and if you don't take care of proper water cement ratio and all, a lower percentage of supplementary cementitious material may be more dangerous. So in I have briefly answered through going through all the steps, Mr. Mukund Joshi, your first question. I hope I have answered to some extent.
Yes, sir. Sir, that one question, and you gave such a deep reply. Thank you so much. And if you look at the comments, there are so many comments that probably we will not be able to take all the questions. But one question asked by Mr.
Yes.
Balachandran, I would just like to take it. So he's talking about this incompatibility between certain cement brands and certain admixtures. He's asking, can we make it mandatory to the cement companies that they declare their brand is incompatible with plasticizers, with which admixtures? Can we make such a thing mandatory?
Sir, it is a very humongous task for either a admixture company or a cement company to give such a declaration, because I always say there are many people who say, because I was selling admixtures earlier, many people, when we talk about admixtures, they think that I'm taking the side of an admixture company. It is not like that. My simple logic is, you take admixture is a solution. Admixture is a solution where the pH and specific gravity or anything is once it is set, once the formulation is set, it will not change. So if, for example, a particular brand is selected, unless otherwise some admixture manufacturer is doing some cheap gimmicks, which generally people don't do, they don't change the formulation. So there is a constant, there is a constant on one side, and there is a variation on the other side. So variation is definitely coming from a powder material. If the powder material is produced in 5,000 tons, 10,000 tons per day, it is I don't want to make broad statement because some of the people don't like it, but the, in my opinion, it is very difficult to exactly give a 100% consistent, exactly same material both in physical and chemically cement. So many people don't agree, I know, but the point is, it if the problem is, if the quality of cement is bad, let us say the quality of cement is bad, let us say a 53 grade cement is only getting 54 MPa. If it is consistently giving 54 MPa, a ready mix company QAQC manager can somehow manage this. But if it happens, if this happens, if it changes, one batch giving 54, another batch giving 58, these kind of variations which generally creep in, the answer to this is, many cement companies will definitely say, we have manufactured the cement as per IS code, which is
Yes.
agreeable and which is great. But here it
Yes.
is not the IS code which is important.
Yes.
According to me, no cement in India fails the IS code. But here the problem is the variations, which puts the
Yes.
stress on the working of QAQC person. So compatibility is difficult for either a cement manufacturer or an admixture manufacturer to give, because one is constant and one is variable. Uh, Unless otherwise, as I said, the admixture manufacturer um, creates a hierarchy, which is generally very less. So it is difficult. A general statement can be made, but that is not valid actually. What is compatible today with a particular brand of cement may not be compatible. I will just give an example where what happened in a situation in Mumbai. The dosage of admixture for a ready-mix company was set at 1.2%, and product was going well. Everything was going well for almost 1 year, and then things started changing, and to an extent that even when the admixture dosage is going up to 2% or 2.2% with the same characteristics, because the the easiest way is to test the smallest product. In smallest
Yes.
product, we say the percentage of admixture is very low, so you can test an admixture in many ways very simply, and the solid content, everything was same, everything, there was no problem, but the dosage was going up in a significant way. So these things happen actually. So as I said earlier, the only thing is, the salary of QQC managers have to be tripled or quadrupled, so that even if he is losing sleep, at least he has some bank balance at the end of the month.
Yes.
That is the only way.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's a very good message, sir.
yeah.
Sir, I just want to take one more question, which is relevant to what you are saying now, asked by Mr. Bhupendra. He's saying, why is it that RMC company always blames the admixture company first? Although, as you have said, sometimes there is problem with cement. We all know about crushed sand, what is happening with crushed sand in the market, but they always target the admixture company first. So, what is your opinion on this?
I think Mr. Bhupendra is trying to put me in a spot actually, but anyway, I try to answer. The point is, it is very unfortunate. If I want to tell you one truth, actually, the Readymix company, entire Readymix company business is going on Reddit. It is very unfortunate. Whoever gives more credit, whoever gives a cheaper material, that is how it is going on actually. So the weakest link, sorry, not weakest link, the weakest organization in this chain is an admixture manufacturer. So it is very easy for a Readymix company to blame an admixture company. You,
Yes.
I hope I have answered actually.
Yes, sir. I just want to add one point to what you have said. Sir, Kar Gupta sir had come on our show last month, and he made one statement which I really liked. So he said, admixture should be robust in nature, so that a small deviation in quality, small variation shouldn't affect the concrete too much. Within an acceptable limit should happen, but sometimes it happens that slightly higher dosage of plasticizer results in completely the concrete not setting at all. Something like that should not happen. That's what a RMC company expects from a admixture supplier.
I fully agree with Kargupta. I think yes, he's a very what do you, big-hearted person to make such a extraordinary statement. The point is robustness up to what level? Robustness up to what level is the question. Actually, it is very difficult actually to make. For example, I will go back to about 6 years back when I was trying to sell admixture to a ready-mix company, where the ready-mix company wanted one admixture to suit 6 or 7 cements, and dosage also he was putting condition it should not be like this. So we told very clearly the dosage will change from cement brand to brand. Dosage will also change from season to season. It is not that dosage is fixed in winter or rainy season. It will be applicable when the temperature is 45 degrees. So you cannot have a robust product to which will work in all seasons for all cements for all sands.
Yes.
It is difficult
Yes.
actually. If somebody gives it, we'll be happy because I'm from ready mix industry now.
Yes. Yes. Sir, thank you very much. It was a fantastic session with so much engagement from everyone, and we can't take all the questions, but I have to select one question as a best question. So, Mr. Balachandran, he had asked about compatibility of plasticizer with cement. So, I'm just selecting it by your permission as the best question today. And, sir, we have this online course which happens every 2 months. So, I want to give him. Probably he doesn't need it, he's already an expert, I don't know, but we want to offer him one free seat on that course which will begin in March. Typically cost of that program is rupees 5000, but we want to give him from our side as a free candidate seat to him for this question, if you permit, sir.
So congratulations to Mr. Balachandran, and thank you very much, sir. You have taken so much of pain in organizing this event
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
and any of the questions, if we can discuss later, or I also have in my, I think my slide, my email ID is there, or your email ID is there. They can connect to me or you, and we can answer to them actually,
Yes.
not an issue. And
Yes.
my only point is, like it is a very challenging field, and most important point is you will not suffer from amnesia, any problem when you are in a ready-mix company. You will not have
Yes.
any problem in your old age because your brain is always working. So the
Yes.
challenges what we have in a ready-mix company, especially the QAQC people, they will definitely
Yes.
live longer because their brain is always active.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much for joining in our show. And I thank all
Thank
the
you.
participants. So we take your leave now. Take care. Goodbye. Let us meet again next Wednesday, 8 p.m. with a new topic. Thank you.
Thank you.